Back in the winner's circle. We'll talk about this coming up next on the Wincinnati podcast.
It's an exciting time to be a Bengals fan.
Welcome to the Wincinnati podcast. I am Ace. He is M. The Bengals are back in the winner's circle, and we're here with a special live episode during the day. My partner Zim was essentially stuck out of state, so he got back into the state. So that's why we're coming to you guys today. Partner, you're back. Talk to the people.
Man, I am back. I feel good. I'm glad that Houday Nation is back. We are rocking and rolling, ready to do this. We're giving you a nice little afternoon treat. We just had some breaking news on the Bengals scheduling coming up. So we got a lot of different things that we could talk about today. But I'm glad that we could rock out one time for y'all while y'all at work, not doing nothing. Just put your headphones in, put your AirPods in, and listen to Zim and Ace. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. Let's get it. Like as you mentioned, Bengals ended up having a schedule change, so they got a game moved back. Is that the Broncos game that it was?
Yes, sir.
Broncos game moved back, I believe, to 4 o'clock now, right? It's a 4:25 game.
Yeah, and it's on Saturday.
Okay, now it's on Saturday. So for those listening, make sure that you guys update your calendars. Make sure that you guys hit that notification bell because that will mean Jake and Mon, or maybe they may be joined by Zim and myself. We'll have a post-game show. We always usually have one, whether it's us, whether it's Bengals Post. So make sure that you guys are tapped in for that as well. But let's talk about the game, man. I mean, I think now we're sitting here at Tuesday. Bengals get a W there. However, not without controversy, right? Everybody's a lip reader now. Everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. Everybody's trying to understand where the frustration came from. But before we get into that stuff, let's talk about what happened in the game. Bengals get a good win, some sloppy football. What were your thoughts watching the game from your vantage point?
I thought this might be a hot take. I'm not sure. I thought during the first half of the game, I thought Joe Burrow was on fire. Like I know that kind of gets lost in the sauce, like with the turnovers and everything like that. But bro, he was on pace for like 450 in the first half. And sometimes these games he starts off a little slow. Sometimes I thought he was on point like the whole time. He does have the bad pick in there, like early on, but man, I just thought that he was going in through his progressions, and I guess the Titans suck, but I just thought like I was watching it with the combination of that and Chase Brown. I was just like, this team cannot be beat. Part of the frustrations that you were talking about, though, Bengals had 14 penalties total, 11 on offense, and remind everybody, this game saw a total of 26 penalties and 10 turnovers total from both teams. So very sloppy game if you didn't see the whole thing. I thought like that was my main takeaway. I thought Joe Burrow was on fire. I thought he was well on pace for the 300. I wanted him to get to 300 yards because no player had ever done that before. I think 6 consecutive 300, 2 touchdowns. I forgot the exact stuff. So at this point, I've been observing and evaluating. But as the week kind of unfolded, there are some things that tie in with that Saturday game that we'll get into as well. I thought another good takeaway too, Devin Cochran, the left tackle, he started off a little shaky, but on the Joe Burrow touchdown throw to Chase Brown, he pancaked the dude, and then he did some unspeakable things to this dude, and no, that was crazy. I don't know what was going on. He tore dude up. He had that, and then he also on that same play, Mims is like just killing dude. Mims had Harold Landry in a box all day. That was insane. If you've been watching up front, I thought Mims played his best game against Landry, and then he played his best game. Another guy to play his best game too, I thought, was Miles Murphy. Now he was going up against, I can't pronounce dude's name, but I think it's like Ferret Petit something. Somebody correct me. he gives it up as far as like the rushes, the pass rushes to everybody. But Myles Murphy walked away from this game with a 35% pass rush win rate. Kind of makes you wonder what would make this staff hold back Myles Murphy so much throughout the whole season. I thought the young, I've been a big proponent of a first round cornerback. I cannot say that the young boys wasn't going crazy. I thought all the corners, we had 4 picks. So I mean, like all the corners like went crazy. CCB had a marvelous game. Stone, I think our fan base is very critical or very quick to talk about how the defense isn't anything and da da da. If you've been as loud as that, you need to be just as loud. I know it's not trendy and it probably doesn't get you a whole bunch of likes, but you are a Bengal fan. So if you're going to be just as loud about how bad the defense was, the defense made a lot of plays that ultimately I thought swung the game. As good as Joe Burrow played in the first half of his game, in the second half, not as good because of all the penalties and all the frustrations and stuff like that. I also thought McKinley Jackson made a good play too. That was on that Mason Rudolph, I think, fumble or I lost track of who was at the Will Levis got benched. But those are my main takeaway from the whole game. It was a sloppy game, but a win is a win.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought Joe Burrow was going to be headed for a 6-touchdown day. He had 3 touchdowns in the first half. Offense was on fire. They were able to get the ball to Jamar Chase. T. Higgins was able to open things up. Chase Brown was doing his thing on the ground. I think offensively, like you said, they were doing their thing. And from a defensive standpoint, there was complimentary football. The Titans didn't score in the second or third quarter. Bengals were getting all kinds of turnovers. They were making plays, forcing fumbles, getting interceptions, doing what they needed to do, right, in order to make something of this game. Mike Hilton, you talked about like all the corners, like you said, Geno Stone even ended up making a play. The sloppy things were where there were other aspects of this game. And to me, like it might be splitting hairs unless you're Joe Burrow right now. He wasn't happy that we didn't do these things. But you could argue that this game could have been, 50-21 or something like that. And I think that's one of the issues that they had was they expected to do better. And I think Joe did have 2 bad interceptions in this one. He did have the fumble as well. So I can understand his frustration because they've just got to be better. Even in a game that they win 37-27, they're likely going to have even more of a dominant performance if they don't have some of those mistakes. We kind of talk about some of the things that happen. Jordan Battle, ends up making that big mistake there. That's a big point swing there. You end up having this situation where the Bengals get someone off sides, but they don't snap the ball. You have Zach calling timeout on the play, and you could just see that there were a lot of brain farts and a lot of bad penalties that the Bengals had in this one. Now, that's not to say the refs weren't the best in this one either. On the fumble for Joe Burrow, a lot of people felt like his knee was down on that, even though right after that, Will Levis does the same thing. From that perspective, I think all in all, it wasn't the cleanest game for them, but they were able to get that win. And I think it may have been frustrating for Joe Burrow because this team is 6-8. They expect to be better than this. They got things going in this game. And I think for Joe, he's probably like, man, like, how are we not better than what we are? And when it comes down to it, the Bengals were able to get some help from the Broncos in this one. They still need some more help. They were able to get some help from the Texans as well against the Dolphins. To me, at the end of the day, the Bengals were able to win. They were able to do it. They got some key plays from some of their best players. Trey Hendrickson was able to make a play. I'm not sure how that wasn't a sack on his strip fumble, but the Bengals defense showed up. The Bengals offense showed up enough, and they were able to get out of here with a win on the road, which isn't easy, but they were able to do it. So we'll see where that leads them. But all in all, I think, you forced 4 interceptions, bro, and a fumble. I mean, and you put up 37 points, and this was a defense that was one of the tops in the leagues in terms of yardage, right? Like this wasn't a bottom 5 defense. This was a top 5 defense in terms of points allowed, yards allowed, and all of that. So the Bengals were able to run through that defense like a knife through hot butter, or a hot knife through butter, in this one. They just did their thing. I mean, it seems like now that the Bengals just scored 30 in their sleep. Like no matter the game, no matter the outcome, it's an easy 30.
I think that's what makes him, I'm gonna tell you. I think the easy thing to say is That's what makes the Bengals dangerous. I was about to say that because of the, but the thing that I think makes them really dangerous. I understand the opponent was weaker, but the last 2 weeks, I think Geno Stone talked about this after the game. They just simplified everything, and I feel like he's playing way faster. Like I saw a run support that he flew in there on, and he went to go make a tackle. Now they tackled the guy like 3 or 4 yards down the field, but Stone did everything that he was supposed to do, and I thought he was like flying to the ball like a lot faster in this game. Like last week, I never really watched him in run support, but I thought in this game, this was one of the more aggressive tackling games that I saw from him. And they still had missed tackles and stuff, but to me, they didn't look as slow. Even last week, I thought the defense, made plays, but they looked slow. Let me ask you on the play, battle ball before the goal line. Do you feel like it's the same as all these idiots that keep on dropping the ball before the goal line, or do you feel like he was like what is your assessment of that? Because I was watching, I was like, man, this one it's still stupid. Why are you waiting?
Yeah.
Until you get to the goal line to do anything? But what was your thought on that play? I guess
My thought was, I think he was trying to switch hands. I don't know if the switching of the hands was to celebrate or what it was to do. I think you could tell that he knew that he messed up, right? Like at first he tried to play it off, and then he's like, "Nah, I dropped that one." You can't have that. I mean, it is what it is. I understand like the both sides of it, but I think if that was a game where it mattered and that was like a swing in this game a little bit, um, I think you just can't have that, bro. Especially, I mean, it sucks for him because how many chances is he going to have the opportunity to get a pick six, right? Like that's not something that happens frequently in a safety's career unless you Ed Reed. But for him, I think it was like someone just said, it was a lack of concentration on him, and maybe he can learn from it. But that's a bad play, bro. It's no way for me to kind of shoot him some bail on it because it's like there was no need for him to switch hands at all, like whatsoever.
let me ask you this too as a follow-up question. I just thought about this on air. Last couple of weeks, Geno Stone has looked a lot better when one of the higher, graded PFF players. Bengals are, excuse me. Bengals might be on the hook, financially. There are outs to a lot of people. I've been one of the people that have been on record to say I think that the Bengals should just move on from Geno Stone. Does his performance in the last 2 games and then moving forward, does that change how you feel as though Geno Stone he should maybe be on the Bengals moving forward? Because in my assessment of the team, I've been thinking, well, let's just go out and go get a Javon Holland or a Hufanga like in the off season and just move on. You probably get a new DC. Are you now feeling like, I don't know how you were on that before? Is Geno Stone still a Bengal for you?
I don't like for me. For me, it has to make sense. So if you have a new defensive coordinator, does Geno Stone fit his system? Like that's the first thing. I don't think that if it aligns that way, I don't know if Geno Stone is the next guy's guy. That's not to say that Geno Stone isn't a good safety. I just don't know if he's a fit for whoever they bring in. And I would assume whoever they bring in is likely going to move a lot of pieces other than just Geno Stone out of this defense and maybe elsewhere. So for me, I would just think it depends on that DC. If Lou is back, I think I think it's likelier that he could be back. I think Geno Stone, for what it's worth, I think he is now more comfortable. He has been making plays. I personally probably wouldn't bring him back because it's almost kind of too little too late with the defense itself. But yeah, I don't see him being back just because of the uncertainty at the defensive coordinator position. And I feel like when you bring in a new DC, they're gonna want to bring in their guys. And maybe now if it's somebody that has a connection to Geno Stone, maybe they bring them back. But if they have absolutely no connection to Geno Stone and somebody's coming in and they're like, I want this role for my defense, then I have a hard time seeing them keeping him.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. We in the same boat. I didn't know. I thought. I mean, he was the highest paid. I mean, highest graded PFF player. You see, like the deep third skills of him making the play on the ball. I can see in the offseason that the Bengals release him. Then, of course, the Ravens probably just go back and pick him right back up as like their.
But I think he's only on a 1-year deal. That's the only thing. Like,
no, he's under contract. Now they can get out of it with little dead cap hit.
Okay.
But now he's signed for another year. So to me, that's been part of the storyline on why I believe that they're still playing him when it looked really, really bad and he's missed all the tackles. I feel like the money part of it, a lot of these players, and I think a couple of weeks ago we talked about like the evaluation period, whether you feel as though the Bengals should lose games to get a higher pick or whatever. I think we're getting a real good evaluation on a lot of players. I still want to see Tanner McLaughlin. I'm not going to make a big fuss about it because I'm seeing a good amount of DJ Ivy. I'm seeing a good amount of Fig Newton. You're seeing a good amount of Miles Murphy. We didn't talk about the Sam Hubbard touchdown and Sam Hubbard hurting his MCL and being done for the season after that. So now you should see 35+ plays of Miles Murphy. And in my mind, moving forward, I've said this. I don't know if the defense has a Trey Hendrickson, or say it does or it doesn't. In my mind, I thought building the defensive line should look more like a bunch of Miles Murphys, just athletic guys that can play the pass and be good run defenders. And maybe nobody gets more than 6 sacks, but it's like a group by committee and you're just rotating a whole bunch of athletic dogs. To me, I feel like that's a fast track way of not having people run on you or whatever. And I know a lot of people have been down on Miles Murphy, but I just think that his athleticism and the different things that he does, it's hard to find those type of guys like you can't find those in later rounds in the draft. You usually get motors after round 3. So to me, that build and everything is a fast track way to like fixing the D-line, whether Trey Hendrickson is here or not. And so we will get a chance to go see Miles Murphy moving forward. Another thing, hold on, at the very beginning, you talked about that Saturday game. I do need to say this. Let's update everybody. There are different paths that the Bengals can go to the playoffs. So it's not just evaluation. The biggest game of the Bengals season, and this is crazy to say, is actually not even us playing. It's the Broncos and Chargers on Thursday Night Football. And if both teams were to lose out, the Bengals have a way to go to the playoffs that way. I think the best, but the Chargers schedule is so easy. The best path to me is the Broncos, because then if the Broncos were to lose to the Chargers, then the Bengals have an opportunity in the game that we outlined at the beginning of this show on Saturday, which is like a primetime game, to go win. If they win that game, I'm going to tell you this, the Chiefs probably won't be sitting people in that last game. And so the Chiefs will be playing the Broncos after a bad Bo Nix game that we just saw. I don't know if y'all watched Bo Nix this past week. The defense helped him out a lot. If the Chiefs play their style of defense, if the Bengals play their style of defense that they just played, I think that this thing could really be on. But the biggest game is this Thursday night game with the Chargers and Broncos.
Nah, for sure. I mean, Chargers and Broncos, we're Chargers. I think I'm a Chargers fan this Thursday. So hopefully they can take care of business. That's going to help the Bengals out. Bengals end up having to play the Browns, so we'll talk about that more on tomorrow's show in terms of the preview. But I think as it stands now, man, I'm just glad that the Bengals were able to get a win out here. Let's see if they can keep things going. And speaking of keeping things going and it being lunchtime, what would this show be without Midwest Best Barbecue?
G-Funk wings and them CTVs. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. It's the AC to the Zim, M to the B's. Uno wings, G-Funk wings and them CTVs. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. Say what up to Jordan Battle. We be going to battle. Intercepting balls like CTV did on Seattle. Putting 6 up on AZ. juice gang amazing. Make sure you come get these wings, cause Zimby stay blazing. And T game be smooth as ice. Jamal making DBs fold. TB got big levels, and now you already know. So pretty for Uno wings. Cam got the new wings. We call them CTBs. Only at MBs. H to the Zim. M into the B's.
Shout out Midwest Best Barbecue, 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. Make sure that you guys stop in and let them know that Ace and Zim sent you. Also, this show is powered by BETUS. Right now, make your bets today. You can sign up and use the exclusive promo code YouTube150. Using that code, you're going to get 150% off, 150% price match on your first deposit. That's right. You're going to get matched 150%, 125% every match after that. Make sure you guys take advantage of BETUS. We had some Wincy plays of the week that ended up hitting as well.
I want to say that the T. Higgins. I said, what was the over or under? Wasn't it like 85? And then bro had 88. And then
we took the over on T.
I took the over on that and the anytime touchdown. So y'all gotta make sure y'all check on the Wincinnati pod. We out here. We've made a bunch. Somebody DM'd me 2 weeks ago and said, "Man, y'all been hitting a lot more, and y'all don't really talk about the bets as much."
Yeah, we've been hitting. That's why you got to pay attention. You got to be betting with BETUS. You got to be making sure that you guys tune in to the Wincy Plays of the Week because we got you. Especially, I know we're broadcasting this live on Twitter. There's more than the Bengals fans that watch these shows. If you are somebody that needs a parlay or needs a play, why not listen to guys that cover this team all the time? We're going to give you guys good advice. So if that is the case, don't hesitate to stop by and make sure you guys check out BETUS. Make sure you guys bet with BETUS. That helps the show out as well. All right, man, we got to talk about it. The sideline exchange with Joe Burrow. Some people have said that dude was over there. From what they've been able to make out from it is he said that this is embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
F that. We're 6-8. It's embarrassing. We're effing 6-8. I'm not mad at Joe for saying that.
and he said it. He said it. Remember, the Bengals had the ball on the 1 yard line. So y'all got to pay attention to the sequence of plays. Bengals had on a 1 yard line. They had a delay of game, which backs them up. The refs were awful because they only backed them up 4 yards. We had it on the 5 yard line for some weird reason. I don't know if people peeped that. Well, we had like an extra yard for whatever reason. Then we had a legal shift or something like that. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but somebody had like a legal shift. I thought it was like Grandy or a false start or somebody. Yeah, somebody false started on the left-hand side. So they backed them up again. We just ran 3 straight plays and then Chase Brown scores a touchdown. But Joe Burrow's thinking like, bro, I could have scored. I could have probably thrown a touchdown right there. You know what I'm saying? Like for all the practicing that we've done to get to that spot and then do that. And that's what I've been talking about like earlier in the season. It's not that I need Joe Burrow to play perfect, but you can't skip past like he'll have a great game. Like I'm saying, he had it. I thought I'm not the pick and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure. Like, I hate it because now, like, the stats don't look as good on his resume. Now he's got 8 picks on the year, and then, like, Lamar's got 3. And, like, so the MVP case looks a little shaky to me, too, just from a number standpoint. Even though I know Joe is way more valuable, in my opinion, than anybody else in the NFL, in my opinion. But I just thought that, like, those mistakes, they've been having weird mistakes like that all year, and they're always in critical points. And I thought, and I'm saying offensively, and I thought that Joe probably was just so tired of it. Like we're in week 14 or something, 13, 14, and you're still having those same type of crazy penalties. And I thought that was it. I think a lot of people were making more of it and trying to say it was like a Zac Taylor thing. I will say overall, I wish that I wish that Joe Burrow had a quarterback. A coach. I am tired. I just got off a plane. Had a coach that matched his intensity and matched his level of perfection or his standard. And I think a lot of the message where some of our fan base is like, I can't believe y'all blaming Burrow. And but it's a standard like that. I'm the biggest Joe Burrow fan. When he's cooking, the internet's gonna know Joe Burrow's cooking, and they're gonna be like, I hate that dude, Zim. People that never seen me before, never heard me talk football, they'll be like, I hate this dude. Joe, like I'm gonna give you every Joe Burrow highlight and it's gonna be everywhere. But when he does make a mistake, sometimes in this game, it wasn't any of his mistakes. Those turnovers or whatever, those are his turnovers. The fumble wasn't even a fumble. But I thought the things that bothered me was the offense failing to execute in some of those spots. And I think he realized too by saying, like, man, we're 6-8. It's embarrassing to have this happen. Imagine if you do get in the playoffs and you're playing like the Steelers or somebody like that, or the Ravens or whatever first round. If you make plays like that, they're not going to let you off the hook. You're not going to be able to just run 3 straight Chase Brown plays and get a touchdown. And that's not asking Joe to play perfect. That's just like the offense in itself. And that really is not even Joe Burrow, but he's just a quarterback. You got to be on point. And I think his standard is so much higher than what people are used to. And I think that's how I kind of view him too. I think he's the best quarterback in football. And I don't know if Zac Taylor and those guys, like, just that exchange. I think Zac was like, man, come on, man, we're winning the game. And Joe was like, nah, like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, we're not on point.
Yeah, man. I think it's just a frustrating part of this season. I mean, it's a game they could have dropped 50, bro. And I think him just sitting back and reflecting, obviously those issues happened. He had the turnovers in the game. They had the penalties. And it probably just reminded him, like, that game is an example of the Bengals season, right? Yes, defense played well. I'm not here to rank on the defense. But they also gave up 27 points to a team that averaged 17 and a half. And it wasn't because they were just allowing open plays. It was because they had boneheaded mistakes and stuff like that they had, right? It's because the offense turned the ball over 3 times. It's because there were a lot of lapses when it came to coaching, right? All out blitz, where that ends up giving up 40 yards and then a touchdown, or where there is Zac, calling the timeout to hold back his own team. I think it's just a combination of all of that and that frustration. And it's like, bro, I'm balling out. I'm having this historic season and we're 6-8. Like, it's not even guaranteed. Like, now I can't get that Patriots game back. Now I can't get any of those Ravens games back. Now I can't get this where, my kicker missed a field goal and now, like, we got to work. Like, I think it was just a combination of the frustration and everything. And, I think he's got the bigger picture, I think, in his head. And I think that's also why you hear them talking about T. Higgins. Yeah, we won last game, but this is about, I need T. Higgins next season. I need T. Higgins for the future. Like, we're already talking about where we're going to be at next year. And I think Joe already said it in the previous game. Like, we're going to find out who's going to be here next season, right? And that includes you too, Zac. So you're being evaluated as well. We're going to try to make the playoffs. Obviously, we want to make the playoffs. I think that's the best way to turn this bad situation around is having that luck to do that. But yeah, Zac, you're under evaluation too, my boy. It's not just people on the roster, it's you as well. And I think it's good that they can have that conversation, because I don't want to hear the fake stuff of, oh yeah, everything's great. Like, it's cool to see that they can have that back and forth and that everybody's on the same page.
Do you think, the same question I asked you about Geno Stone now, and I asked you this question on air like 2-3 shows ago. I said, what would it take for Zac Taylor to get fired? And now that he's winning a couple games here against lesser opponents, I will say one part of the context that has changed. This offense looks unstoppable.
The offense does look unstoppable.
I wasn't counting on that little small detail. Like, I don't believe, like, I watched the Bills. I will tell you this. I retweeted this tweet, and I think you were saying Joe Brady. I'm going to tell y'all this. If Joe Burrow ever got that, this dude is probably, like, I retweeted this thread. Y'all got to go check this out. He calls the craziest, like, his run game coordination is very creative. if Joe Burrow did have a guy like that, and we're like, yeah, we're a top 3, we're top 1 with Joe Brady. Like, I will say that. So I don't feel like Zac Taylor just because we're top 3. I do think that there's still some room to like grow after watching this dude like call that game. Yeah. I don't know.
And I just feel like, yes, you can give credit to Zac, right, for the offense. Cool, right? But you also have to give that credit to Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. And you have to ask yourself, if you do move on from the head coaching position and Zac isn't the guy calling the offense, can Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase still ball? Yes. The answer to that is yes. If you have Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Chase Brown, you've got the talent there. It took them a while to kind of get to where they are at now. A lot of people felt like they should have been like this a few seasons ago in terms of being consistent. But yeah, I think Zac's still on the hot seat. I think it's still a situation where if, they get to 9-10 losses, I think it's very possible that Zac is out of here. I also think a thing that people need to keep an eye on is, and I don't know, but the Kyle Shanahan situation. If Kyle Shanahan or someone like that was let go, and that person that people weren't expecting to be there is now a possibility, and they're interested in coaching Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Man, what?
That's another way I think that it could happen if, let's just say, Zac Taylor goes 9-8 and misses the playoffs, but there's somebody like a Shanahan out there. I think you really have to consider that, bro.
I think the Shanahan one, though, I think he's going to want way too much control. I thought that the Belichick thing that I was pushing, he's so old. Like, what control would he really want? He just wants to coach and get his.
What would Shanahan need, though? Like, you already have Joe Burrow.
I want my system.
That's fine. Our run game sucks.
Through the draft.
Our run game sucks.
Through the draft. It's going to be my guys.
Yes, I want you to bring in your run game coordinator. Yes, I want you. Now, is his defensive coordinator Robert Saleh? I'm good with that, bro. Like, I don't think this is a situation you walk into where there's a whole lot that you have to change on the offensive side of the ball, right? Like, Shanahan's an offensive guy. I could see if this was the defense, right? Like, you're coming in, you're gonna have a lot of demands. Like, bro, I gotta change all of this and that. I don't like this, but with this offense, I'm like, bro, you got a future right tackle and Marius Mims. You already got Orlando Brown Jr. Who wouldn't want him? You might want to change the interior. That's cool. I'm not opposed to that. You already got Jamar Chase. He's going to push for T. Higgins. Like, there's no way he's going to be like, yeah, let T. Higgins get up out of here. So
I think Joe's going to say it's my call. I don't care, Kyle. I've been here with that's where Joe is the coach. But this is another thing I think that they will bump heads at. Kyle go in the center a lot.
Yeah.
Joe obviously. And it's so obvious he doesn't want to go under center because when Jake Browning was there, he had no problem going under center. The only time Jake Browning didn't want to go under center was the game where he got sacked, and he was like, "No more naked boots," and like yelling to the sideline. Aside from that, under center he was killing people, and I always wonder why they don't go under center more. So it's got to be a Joe Burrow thing. I just think Kyle Shanahan would say, "No, I don't care that the Brown family has done this. We're going to do everything our way." And I think that that's in the draft, and that would be me moving on from Tobin. I just think that the Brown family would just be we're good.
Maybe they're, but do you think if Joe Burrow said, go get Kyle Shanahan, that they would tell him no? Like, I don't think
we could do a role play. I think they'll be like, Joe, Kyle's really expensive. You told us you wanted T. Higgins. We can't afford both.
Okay. All right. So I have to keep Zac. Is that the only option? We're keeping Zac and T. Like,
he's under a contract for 2 more years, Joe.
Who's under contract for 2 more years?
Your head coach, Zac Taylor. He's under
Zac Taylor. I don't care. We're 6-8. We're 6-8. Like, we're better than that. We need somebody else in here, Mike. Like, this is not cutting it. We need to get back to the Super Bowl. The standard has changed. You expecting us to just bring Zac Taylor back again? That's not happening. Kyle Shanahan is going to the Super Bowl how many times? We're passing on that guy?
Man. Hey, I'm telling. I think I don't know how our fans feel about this. Y'all let us know in the comment section. What do you think? Somebody told me about Shanahan a couple weeks ago.
You gotta push back, Sam. Push back, Mike. Push back.
I mean, I'm just telling you, I'm not ready to move on. If I'm Mike Brown, I'm not ready to move on from my boy Tobin. I still believe in him. I think that Shanahan, Ben Johnsons of the worlds, and all those guys, they're going to want way too much control from me, and I'm not okay with that. I want a coach that comes in and just coaches the team, and that's it.
Well, I've talked to Kyle. He says that the only control he needs is me and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need anything else.
Oh, then yeah, let's get it. Then let's go. Like then we go.
I mean, obviously, like for that to happen, the 49ers have to seriously consider doing it. Like I said, I'm not saying that the 49ers are going to do that. It's just a situation to monitor. Like, I think he gets the benefit of the doubt because obviously Kyle Shanahan has been to the Super Bowl so many times. He hasn't won it. So I think it would be a little bit, I mean, it is kind of bad over there, but they've had a lot of injuries for the 49ers. I think that he'll at least get the benefit of the doubt to come back another year. But that's just the kind of situation that I'm talking about. Every year there's a surprise firing. And I think if you see like Bill Belichick, right? Nobody expected him to be on the market. If they go 9-8 and there's someone out there like that, that's clearly better than Zach.
I mean, there's some guys out there that's clearly better than Zach right now.
Who's better than Zach right now?
Mike Vrabel in the overall like system itself.
Is he?
Bro, he had Tannehill like in the number 1 seed spot, bro. Like multiple seasons of like systematic. Yeah. This is the way we play. Taking less than teams. I thought that the overall rosters were.
I would like him as a DC. I just don't know him as a head coach, bro. Like I get it though.
I love him.
I trust him. I trust him to make our defense nice. I mean, I can see that. Like, I'm not gonna be opposed to Mike Vrabel at all. My question is, why didn't anyone like go after him? That was my only issue. He couldn't be a DC somewhere. Like the Browns had to come and get him late. Like,
yeah. I think most teams aren't in the position that we're in. We're in a rare, super rare. Mm-hmm. Most of those teams that need a coach, they need it for their young quarterback, or they need it to uplift their quarterback, or they need to go get a quarterback, or they need offensive power. This Bengals team being probably like the 3rd ranked offense in the NFL right now, like EPA per play, not overall offense. It makes it weird where we're watching the games. Burrow's going so off script in all of these games that that Zac Taylor's not drawing that up. When we look at the practices, Joe Burrow's doing jump passes and rolling, booting out, and then throwing like his touchdown pass on Sunday was a 9-second play that he's just improvising. That's not a play call. That's just
not a play call.
That's just Joe Burrow. So I'm gonna tell you this is what I've always said. Like, I don't want Mike Vrabel as the head coach. But if they did take him, I think that the mentality of the conversation that they had on the sidelines is a lot different. I think what our fan base is going through is I've been very, very shout out to my boy Honcho. I saw he was frustrated. I feel like a lot of people are very, very, I'm not going to say coddling, because then I think people are going to try to cancel me too. But they are very soft on Joe Burrow. I don't feel like he's that type of quarterback. I don't I think he's a coach's son. If he makes a mistake and he throws for 400 yards and he don't win the game, he does not care, bro. I think that's like some fan stat stuff online to be like, bro, what are you talking about? We MVP. I'm like, yeah, bro. He's 6. Joe Burrow don't care about it. Like, Joe Burrow wants to win the game, and if he feels as though he had a part in any of that, he's gonna say, put it on my shoulders. And I think that's not the head coach's responsibility to blame Burrow, but it is his responsibility to probably ask him after the game, like, hey, what could you have done better, Joe? And I think the average fan that maybe you've never been part of a football team or something like that, I don't know, like I have, the star player. I've been on teams where the coach was a little bit linear, but I had tough coaches. So the star player got it. I'm used to that. Like our fan base, I think, has never had a Joe Burrow. So like when you say anything, it's like, oh no, you're gonna scare Joe Burrow. That's my theory. It's like they feel like Joe Burrow's gonna leave us if they criticize or they're critical on any point. That's
I just think I agree. I think Joe Burrow should be criticized. I think you have to have somebody with accolades that can do that. Like it's almost like we kind of talked about the Joe Burrow situation. It is kind of a LeBron situation. It is the guy that's like from Ohio, the guy that's legend, the guy that's larger than life. And when you have somebody that he comes in there and there's no accolades, like how are you going? Like you're not going to demand that respect. Whereas, like you kind of talked about before he went to North Carolina, Bill Belichick comes in there, people are listening. He can say something back to him. He was saying stuff to Tom Brady, but he's got the hardware and the Super Bowls to back it up. Whereas somebody that, shout out to Zach, but he doesn't have a resume. He doesn't have this resume. And I think Lou Anarumo and a lot of these guys didn't have resumes when they first took over the Bengals. And as a result of that, you got a lot of people like Carlos Dunlap and a lot of people behind the scenes questioning, like, who are these guys? Like, who are you to be telling me like I'm doing the wrong thing or I'm third on the bench now because of this and that? So it goes both ways. I think now Zach has given himself something. I said that he doesn't have a resume, but he now at least, I guess he doesn't have a resume without Joe Burrow is what I'm saying.
He's outcoached some of the best. I've been a proponent of saying at the end of the year, some of these AP, like when they gave it to Stefanski and stuff like that, I'm like, hold up, like Zach only lost 4 games, and he could have won the Hamlin game that year or whatever. And I thought it was a year that they thought like our roster was better or whatever. He has outcoached a lot of people. I don't want to take that away from Zac Taylor.
Yeah.
I think he's also lost us some very, very key games too.
Oh yeah,
including the Super Bowl. That's just I've always said that. Like I don't believe that he
did. When you just talk about the Andy Reids and these guys that have like a resume, those guys can talk to MVP caliber players any type of way. When you're that guy and it's like we've lost some of these games this season because of you, we're 6-8 largely because of you, and you've actually went out in the media and said that it's on me. You can't. I mean, Joe Burrow's gonna come at you, bro, and it is what it is.
I think, and I want to. This is the final take because I think we've gone over a little bit. We're having fun lunchtime. I will say this: my version of what I think a coach should be isn't. It might be very different than somebody else's. I just think that strategically, it would help and go a long way if he had a head coach that was far more demanding than Zac Taylor. Remember, when Zac was hired here, he's more so I'm happy to be here type of vibes because he wasn't qualified to even be at that level, in my opinion, at that part. Now, to Zac Taylor's point, he's earned it. But now, like, even the conversation on the sideline, I like that. Like you said, I like them having good rapport, even when Joe Burrow is like in a rut or he's whatever. I want a coach that says after the game, like, Joe, like, talk to me about those 3 turnovers. Like, what could you have done better in those spots? What happened on those calls or whatever with the false start? Now, our fan base might be like, why would you be doing that to Joe Burrow? I think that will push Joe Burrow. And you know what he would do the following week? Joe Burrow is the type of guy, because he's very, very spiteful like this, and this is how I know it will work. He will come back the next week, throw for 5 touchdowns and have no turnovers and walk right up to your new head coach and say, yeah, how you like that? I'm him. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a tough layer of coaching that I don't know if people are ready for. I think people are feeling like, well, hey, you can't, Joe's really an MVP. Like, I get that. But the type of person and the mentality that Joe Burrow is, he's borderline a psycho. So you can't treat this like how you would anybody else. And I know that sounds a little crazy, but like we've grown, or I've been around his family and all types of stuff. I think I kind of understand like his mental makeup a little bit. I don't know him like that at all, so I'm not faking like I do. But I do think that he is a person that strikes me as he would like to be pushed to work harder or be better. And I think that too many people let him off the hook. Kyle Shanahan, he's a bit of an asshole and he's a bit of a douche. I think after a game, he'd probably be like, yeah, Joe, like that was my play calls right there. Joe be like, what? And then come back and like he's so competitive that he would compete with his head coach. He never has to compete with Zac Taylor. And that's my overall point. I think Vrabel would do the same thing, but Vrabel would probably do it in his own way and be like, yeah, I thought y'all said the offense was like that. Why didn't y'all score 40 if y'all so good? You know what I mean? I think Vrabel would push him. That's what I think would make Joe Burrow come out of it and be this juggernaut and when he gets into his Peyton Manning mode. But my original question that is now strung on like another 15 minutes, let us know in the comment section, who would you like? Are you a person that's saying Zac Taylor straight because the offense now is good? I believe that the offense could be even better. I also believe that the offense doesn't even have to be better if you had a better defense, of course, right? So let us know some feedback. Make sure you give us a like, subscribe, comment in there. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us at this lunchtime special. Good win for the Bengals.
Good win. Who they?